Hi there, orchestra students. It is time to start taking applications for next year's orchestra officers, and this video is going to let you know how to go through the officer packet if you'd like to pick one up. So, the packets look like this. We have 40 of them available here in the orchestra office. You'll know that you've got the right one when it says 2016-2017 officer application there on the front. When you open it up, you'll see the page called Officer Selection Process. Looks like that. Just walks you through the 4 components of the application: the declaration page, the teacher recommendations, your officer notebook, and your officer interview, each of which we're going to talk about a little bit here. So then there's a page that tells you about the different officer positions that make up the orchestra council. You can read a little bit about them. Each different job has slightly different responsibilities and things. Do be aware that the president is typically a senior and is typically somebody who has been an officer in previous years, since they're kind of over everything. Vice presidents are not always people who have been officers before, but typically those jobs go to upperclassmen who have some experience as officers. A lot of the positions are open to anybody. It just needs to be something that matches your talents. For example, librarians tend to be people who are fairly organized, good at sorting things and keeping things arranged in a certain way. Historians are the ones who make the slideshows and make the scrapbooks and things like that. So take a look at those descriptions, and you'll probably be able to tell which ones you think you would be a good fit for. Then there's a page called the Orchestra Officer Application. And when we do officers for the orchestra at Dobie, there's no voting that goes on. The officers are chosen by the directors based on the information that you turn in your notebook. But it is important that you be perceived as someone with leadership qualities both by the directors and the orchestra students. So on the officer application declaration page, which looks like what you see on your screen here, this is where you get 30 orchestra students to sign saying that they think you would be a good officer. Now, this is not a competition, so if you're applying to be an officer, this doesn't mean you can't sign other people's sheets. You can sign as many of them as you want. As many people can sign as many as they want. It's just that if the person who asks you to sign theirs is somebody that you do not think would be a good officer or a good leader, then just politely say no. But this page, you'll get 30 signatures on it. You'll put your name at the top. You'll list the different officer positions you would like to be considered for. You can list more than one. It's good if you list more than one. And then include this page in your orchestra officer notebook that we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay? Following that is a page of questions, and it looks like this. Okay, there's 14 questions on here pertaining to the different things we need to know about you to know if you would make a good officer and what officer position you would be well suited for. We want you to answer these honestly. We want you to put some thought into these, and we want to be able to see that you took some time to do it well. So the way you're going to answer these questions is in your officer notebook. Now, I can tell you a little bit about officer notebooks. It's going to help some of you to be able to see examples. So in the orchestra room, over the course of the next week or so, we'll have some examples of notebooks from past years that people made who were successful in the officer application process. Some people use the notebook to show us their creativity, and they make these scrapbooks with all kinds of colorful and illustrative things. Some people just make very professional looking, clean cut notebooks that just give us the information in a very professional looking way. And again, any of that is fine. It should reflect you and your creativity, and it should show us that being an officer mattered enough to you to take some time and make it look good. So there's 14 questions there for you to look over, and again, you're not going to answer them on this page. These are the questions we want to see your answers in your notebook. Then, when you turn the page, okay? That's the last of the officer application that you're going to keep. After that, you're going to find these teacher recommendation forms. There should be 5 in every packet. We'll also print up extra. We need 5 teacher recommendations for every officer candidate. And so if you would like to have like a 6th and 7th as a backup in case one of your 5 doesn't turn it in time, that's fine. We can happily give you some extra copies of that. But what you do with this form is you fill out this top portion here. Don't make your teacher do that, but then ask them to fill in these questions, give us some information about you, and then they're free to write any comments on the back. We don't ask for letters of recommendation because we want the teachers to be able to do it quickly, and we want them back in the next 2 weeks. So we just ask them to answer a few questions for us, and then we give them space if they want to write something. Be very sure with this of a couple of things. We want the teachers to turn these into our mailboxes. They are not to fill it out and give it back to you. That messes up like the confidentiality and the validity of it. So fill out the top part so that they remember who gave it to them. And a lot of these teachers get asked by multiple orchestra students, so it's very important. Give it to them in plenty of time. Let them know we would like it by, what does it say here, Monday, May 2nd, okay? And then ask them if they wouldn't mind filling it out and put it in the mailbox of one of the orchestra directors. Now, 5 teachers is what we would like to hear from. If you are a freshman, you may ask a teacher from BHI or Thompson or wherever you went in 7th or 8th grade to do a recommendation for you. And if they are in Pasadena ISD, we can email them this form and they can email it back to us, and it's very easy. If they are not in Pasadena ISD, then we need you to get their contact information for us so that we can get this form to them as quickly as possible. We allow freshmen to do that because you've only been at Dobie 1 year, you've only had a certain number of teachers, and so that gives you more teachers to pick from. Pick teachers who you feel like know you a little bit beyond just another student in their class, who can speak to your personal qualities and how great you are. Also, with freshmen, do not go back further than 7th grade, okay? 8th grade or 7th grade is fine because they will have had you recently. If you go back to 6th grade or 5th grade, that's not gonna work. That's been too long. So sophomores and juniors, pick teachers that are here at Dobie or that you had at Dobie. Freshmen, pick teachers from Dobie or from 7th and 8th grade. So this is the part I would suggest you tear these sheets off the packet as soon as you get them and ask your teachers for references as quickly as you can, which gives them plenty of time. And also, like we said, a lot of teachers will get requests from multiple students from orchestra, and so if you wait too long, then they'll know that you put off asking them. So get those out to them quickly, and then get to work on collecting your 30 signatures and putting together your officer notebook. There's a lot of talented people in the orchestra this year, and a lot of you have participated in our socials and our events, and so you might be interested in becoming an officer so that you can give back to the orchestra in that way. So we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to your interviews, which will be the final part of the officer interview process. Once you have turned in teacher recommendations and collected your signatures and whatnot, then we will schedule an officer interview with you in the school days leading up to banquet. And in the officer interview, you will bring us your notebook. We will sit down, it'll be the orchestra directors and a current officer. We'll ask you some questions. We'll look at your ideas to see what you've come up with, and it'll be a very relaxing, very low pressure situation. And then at banquet, at the end, we will announce who next year's officers are. So, good luck to everyone who is trying out, and we look forward to getting the wheels in motion for next year.